Religion, unfortunately, these days is used by Muslims, by Hindus, by Christians. It is used as a type of manipulation, a political manipulation, a type of nationalism. We see it happening in America. We see it happening here in India. How is it the philosophy of the Vedas is being used as an aggressive, nationalistic concept? I couldn't think of anything more divorced from the teachings. How is it that Christianity, the teaching of the Prince of Peace, the Prince of Peace, Jesus, who is supposed to have said, if someone strikes you, turn the other cheek. Is that what America did? George Bush tells us he's a good Christian. Is that what they did after 9/11? Did he say, we are Christians, we are a Christian nation, we will turn the other cheek? That's what Jesus taught. No, that's not what he said. Where is the teachings of Jesus? Where is the teachings of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam? Where in Islam did Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam tell us to blow up women and children? That this was Islam? Where in the Quran, where in the Sunnah, where in this beautiful religion ever have we been given any inclination that we should kill women and children and people who are working and going about their daily lives? Where? Tell me when the Sahaba ever, or the Prophet ﷺ, took his sword and went into the marketplaces and started slaughtering women and children left, right and center, and saying this is jihad. No one has any more bothered to pick up the Quran and learn it. No one is bothered to pick up the hadith and study it. No one is bothered anymore to tread the path of ilm, to tread the path of knowledge.
During the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the Muslims were being tortured greatly. Some of them, like Khabbab ibn Arat, he said, when he was asked by Umar ibn Khattab, he said, "Oh Khabbab, what was the worst that you faced in Mecca?" Because he was one of the early Muslims. And so he said, what's the worst that you faced in terms of torture from the Meccans when you were Muslim? He just said, just look at this, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. He opened his back and he said, look at that. Umar ibn Khattab, he looked at it and he said, what is this? I've never seen something like this before. I've never seen anything like this before. What is this? He said, the Meccans, because he accepted Islam, because he said, La ilaha illallah, they used to put out their fires with his back. Burning coal, putting his back on it. You know, when you need to turn off the fire, what do? You go get water, right? So you can turn off the fire. You can put out the fire. But you know what they used to do? They used to use his back to do that, until he could hear the sizzling of the burning from the coal. And this is what they face in Mecca. The Muslims. The Prophet ﷺ even said, يَأْتِي عَلَيْكُمْ زَمَانٍ. There will come a time, الْقَابِضُ عَلَى دِينِهِ كَالْقَابِض عَلَى الْجَمْرِ. The person who holds on to Islam, who holds on to his religion, will be like a person who holds on to burning coal. Let me give you some burning coal and see how long you can hold on to it. But that's what the Muslims faced during those days. And the Muslims were being tortured in front of the Prophet ﷺ. In front of the Prophet ﷺ. They were being tortured. Sumayyah radiallahu anha, and Yasir, and Ammar, mother, father, child, all three. Both of Ammar's parents, Sumayyah and Yasir, they were both killed. Sumayyah, she was killed by a spear that was put in her private part. That's how they killed her. They killed Yasir, they ripped him apart. While they were torturing this family, the Prophet ﷺ walked by them. What do you think he did? He loved them very much. The Muslims were weak. Do you think he went and he beat those people up? He didn't resort to violence. He said, "Sabran ya ala Yasir, fa inna maw'idakum al-jannah." Be patient, O family of Yasir, because your position is in paradise. You have a place in paradise. You have a promise placed in paradise. Be patient. What do we learn from this? What we can extract from this is that sometimes as Muslims, especially in the times of weakness, especially when you're a minority, when you don't have the strength, you want to change things. And you might see Muslims being tortured, but it's out of your hands. And you can't do anything about it. Muslims being tortured by the thousands in the Middle East every day. We hear the news, we hear it so often, we have become desensitized. We don't even feel any sense of mercy, compassion towards them anymore because we hear it so much. That's what has happened. So we hear this and we see things being done to the Muslims. What do? Sometimes, if you can't help them, then help them with all that you can. But sometimes the only thing that you have is dua. But what do we learn from here? We learn that when you see certain things happen, don't act with your emotions. Be wise. Don't let your emotions take over. And then by you being violent and doing things that are irrational, you cause more problems for the Muslims. And the masajids will be closed. And the Islamic schools will be closed. And conventions like this to remind us of Allah will not happen. Because of a few people who are not using their mind. They don't go back to the scholars. They're acting on emotions alone. The Prophet, did he not love this family? He loved them very much. And he had more compassion than any one of us will ever have in our hearts for the Muslims. But he didn't make him act irrational. And that's another lesson that we can learn in modern times from the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ.
The Prophet ﷺ said that towards the end of time, towards the day of judgment, knowledge shall be lifted up, ignorance shall prevail, and blood will be shed. Look at how he equated, he correlated between the lifting of knowledge and the spreading of ignorance and the spreading of bloodshed. When people don't have knowledge, that is when blood will be shed. When people don't know what to do, when people don't know how to teach or preach, when people don't know their religion, that is when the blood will be shed. When people have ilm, when they have knowledge, peace shall prevail. When a fitna is coming from the horizon, when you see a fitna from far away, only the alim is able to recognize that that is a fitna coming. O community, beware, that is a fitna. Don't be deceived. Look deeper. Only the alim realizes it. When the fitna comes, causes its destruction, and then leaves, everybody realizes that was a fitna. Too late. Too late. When a fitna comes, only the alim can tell you how to respond properly, how to react properly. All Muslims were living in times of fitan. Lots of hardships are undergoing the Muslim ummah. We have, from many different fronts, we are being attacked. Our rights are being taken away. People, as a response to this dhulm, sometimes go to the other extent of doing dhulm and injustice as well, without knowledge. They'll do something which is not allowed for them to do. Our religion does not allow us to kill innocent people. It doesn't. And I'm not saying this because I'm scared of any government. This is what the Quran and Sunnah tells us. We cannot kill and cause mayhem and torture. Yet we have those elements in our community that do this as a reaction, as an anger. Why? Because they don't have the knowledge. Yes, there is dhulm. There is oppression happening to the Muslims in Palestine. There is oppression happening all over the world. But how do we respond? With knowledge. You need to go to the ulama. You need to go to the scholars. The Prophet ﷺ was tortured. His people were killed in Makkah 13 years. And he kept on telling them, turn the other cheek. Be patient. Don't fight. No. There are times where you have to stick with knowledge and preaching and advising. Sometimes you have to swallow the bitter reality that there is nothing you can do. It doesn't justify the other extreme. This is a fitna. This is a fitna. How are we going to be solved from this fitna? Through knowledge. Through knowledge. It is the ulama who will tell us it is not allowed for us to fight one evil with another evil. It is not allowed to fight one evil with another evil. No, our religion does not allow this. Knowledge. That is why the Prophet said, when knowledge is raised, that is when blood will be shed. When knowledge is raised, that is when blood will be shed.